So craving for sugary foods is quite common among the people. Sweet tasting foods are mostly used as comforting foods. What's your view on this, and how to overcome this craving? So I was reading a book on diet, and they explain like why we crave for sweet foods, oily, rich, fried foodstuffs, salty foods are also craved. So when our forefathers were hunters and gatherers, so these sweet, rich foods or these salty, spicy foods were very rare, and even the oily and fat-rich foods were very rare. And they were, salt was able to store some amount of fluids in our body, because the hunters and gatherers were not knowing when they are going to get the next meal. So body itself were craving so that they can store sufficient amount of fluids within them. So salts were craved for, oils and fats, and proteins like non-vegetarian and whatnot. So they are the sources of nutrition which can be stored in the body, and that can be converted into energy at any time. So that was the point of origin of why we started craving for certain types of foods. Even the sweet tasting foods also, like sugarcane, rice, and etc. So we crave it so that it gives us instant boost of energy, which was required when we were like hunters and gatherers. And even if you go to our grandparents level, they were very hardworking and all. But now we are in a very difficult situation where we are sitting in air-conditioned rooms. Most of our work revolves around sitting in front of a computer, or we clearly are not as physically active as our forefathers, but the craving is there, still around, and causing a lot of problems, sir.
See, basically, craving for anything is a mental condition, and it is purely responsible by that person. He develops that because we have many people, they are having a different type of cravings, not always for the Madhurasa. I have seen so many people craving for very pungent foods. And even I had one my fellow friend, who never used to take Madhur Rasa. He doesn't like Madhur Rasa, but he used to take a lot of pungent. So like that, there are people who can take, depend upon those things. See, if for example, if somebody, if I say, you can do sambar, something like that, without using tomatoes, they'll be astonished and they'll say, without tomato, how can we make sambar? Because they don't know what are the other sources which also yields the amla rasa. Using a tamarind or a nimbu also can be made into something like that, or amchur can be used as an alternative thing. How it can be made? Because people are not knowing, and they are knowing only one variety of things, and accordingly they consume those things, and they develop an affiliation towards that. And that affiliation, sometimes it is so that if you go to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, these areas of India, where people consume, even in the North Karnataka, not a lot of spicy items. Their spices comparatively double the dose of what we Southern Indians, other people we consume. Similarly, when a non-vegetarian diet, which usually has more garam masala and certain, so when a people are having a fantasy and to eat those things, definitely they'll crave for those materials. And if you observe, usually the children, they have a little bit of more cravings towards the madhurasa dravyas rather than others.
Another thing regarding craving is that, like rightly you said, Sadhguru once said that most of the problems that current period generation is kind of a fashionable problem. Oh, I have a craving for particular type of cake or soda, or I cannot live without Netflix. So, this is more, as much as this is related to food, this is also very much related to the mind. And probably one of the ways to avoid or prevent from craving is to be very watchful what type of food that we are eating on a daily basis. And ideally, we should be eating the taste from all the six tastes rather than sticking to only one particular taste. And being watchful and avoiding wherever we're feeling that one type of foods, so for example, chips or sugar, etc. If we are taking it a little more, cutting it down and avoiding it for the moment and letting the craving go by is so mental control plays a very big role in coming out of cravings. So,
Not only that, everything. See, some very clear thing is that sankalpa. If you do sankalpa that I won't do this one, I don't take this one, I take only this one, that is the first and basic line. If you keep those things in a very strict manner, then automatically rest will follow. If you are having a vulnerability that you may just because somebody has offered you some sweets in the midday, then you are able to take it, and then it is up to you. So if you don't want to take it, say I have fixed my diet as only 2 diet per day, and I don't consume anything in between, then nobody will force you if you follow that trend. But many a times what we do is that we don't follow the trend as a discipline what is required. So ultimately what we do is whatever it comes in the way, we just taste them and enjoy that. And then by the end of the day, as we are only sitting and doing around the chair and even the computers and all those things, ideally then it becomes very awkward by few months or years. Then we'll be putting a lot of weight and the body is stored with excess fat. Then blaming on the Madhurasa and something like that. It is you to be get blamed, not the Madhurasa. One who has to decide what to eat, what not to eat, that been broken by the person itself. So we cannot blame it on the any Madhurasa Dravya or anything like that. It is our will and wish and our decision to consume it. So that's why when you are unable to expense those things which are stored in the body, definitely body bulk will go and even rich cholesterol, sugar and everything will come into scene.
having a controlled mind is and being very disciplined what goes into our mind and also what addictions that we are gathering, like you told, whatever comes our way we eat it, and we start scrolling Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in Western world has become a big competitor for Facebook in terms of addiction. So just keep on scrolling and watch the videos that are thrown at us, and we in a negative way we start enjoying that negative feeling, and it is time for us to have a good control over mind and be strong and be very selective what goes into our mind and also what goes to our mouth as well. Like Swami Vivekananda told, strength is life and weakness is death. But we have become a sort of slave to the weaknesses nowadays. So,
Definitely, that's what I said. Sankalpa is the first one. If you skip those first line, then definitely there will be derailment from the track. So if you are very clear with what you are supposed to do and put the train in the first itself in the right track, then of course there will be no problem. Otherwise, simply whatever it is, somebody is saying that today is my birthday, then also some sweets and something, and then today there is a party in the office, then they enjoyed it, and once you go home, then the children they ask it once again, there are some snacks, some tea, coffee, and then once again wait, there is a lunch, dinner, and something like that. So going on throwing lot of materials and food into the system. What it does, it actually, as far as possible, it tries to digest it and store it, keeping in the things that it may be required in the future. But until unless we don't utilize them in by physical exercises or training or something like that, if you don't do burn out the calories, definitely we will be in trouble. That should not be done. So that's why I said many times, don't blame at the sugary things or sugars. Blame yourself. You are the one who can control it. You have spoiled it, and now you are blaming on the sugar and sugary things. Don't. It won't work out.